Hello, my name is Elaine Meehan and I'm a PhD candidate at the Department of Paediatrics in the University of Melbourne and at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute in Melbourne, Australia. Our paper in the May 2017 edition of Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology is titled Hospital Admissions in Children with Cerebral Palsy, a Data Linkage Study. I'd like to acknowledge each of my co-authors at this point for their contribution to this work. Our paper describes a retrospective cohort study that used data linkage techniques to investigate hospital admissions in children with cerebral palsy. Specifically, we used a population cohort of children with CP to describe their frequency of hospital admissions and the risk factors for more admissions in this group, as well as to describe the characteristic of admissions. So, for example, reasons for admissions, lengths of stay, and overall admission complexity. We looked at differences within the cerebral palsy cohort, so for example across the different levels of GMFCS, and we also compared cerebral palsy admissions to admissions in children from the general childhood population that were aged the same. We carried out this study by linking the Victorian Cerebral Palsy Register, a population-based register of individuals with cerebral palsy living in the Australian state of Victoria, to the state's hospital admissions dataset, the Victorian Admitted Episodes dataset. The main benefits of using this approach, rather than using hospital-recorded diagnoses codes of cerebral palsy, were the certainty around cerebral palsy diagnoses, the ability to obtain hospital admissions data on a population cohort, and the availability of data on cerebral palsy severity and complexity from the Cerebral Palsy Register. Some of our main findings were that children and young people with cerebral palsy accounted for approximately 1.5% of hospital admissions in their age group. Compared to the general population of children, their hospital admissions were more likely to be classified as emergency and medical admissions and to take place in hospitals based in metropolitan areas. Once admitted to hospital, children with cerebral palsy had more complex admissions, so longer lengths of stay, more procedures per admission, and overall higher healthcare costs compared to other hospitalised children. Within children with cerebral palsy, higher GMFCS level was associated with comparatively more admissions that were classified as emergencies, and more admissions that were due to respiratory illnesses. These findings have implications for families and healthcare providers working in the field, as well as for healthcare decision makers and policy makers, and for researchers. For parents and healthcare professionals working in the field, information on the main causes of admissions and risk factors for certain types of admissions in this group may help in working towards preventing some unplanned admissions, in particular among high-risk children. For healthcare decision makers and policy makers, published data like this, particularly the data that compares cerebral palsy admissions to general population admissions, may be useful for service planning and for estimating the costs associated with cerebral palsy. For researchers, it highlights a new use of cerebral palsy registers. So specifically, it highlights the utility and feasibility of using a cerebral palsy register for health services research, and ultimately for improving how healthcare is delivered to this group. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoy reading our paper.